So here we are at Stephen F. Austin University in Nacogdoches, Texas, October 18th, 2010. And I'm here with John Whitwell. And it was around 20 years ago, I believe, that you asked me to write the piece Desi. Is that right?
That's correct. I was visiting my good friend Larry Ratcliffe at Tanglewood in August, and I saw you there, and I asked you why you had not written a wind piece. And my memory is you said because no one's asked. And so I asked, and we hatched this piece at Tanglewood for us to premiere in February of 1991 at the National CBDNA.
Yeah. Now I remember coming down here for the final rehearsals, and I think Frank Kelly also wrote a piece, didn't he, for that?
He did. Gaian Visions. And my cousin David Whitwell was here. We did one of his pieces in memory of Mozart.
All right. And Carl Hughes, I believe.
Yes, Mr. Husek conducted the music for Prague to end the concert.
Right.
And it was a magical event because of the premieres, and we didn't realize when we asked Mr. Husa to conduct Prague that the Berlin Wall would come down within a year before this concert.
Right.
And so Mr. Husa actually came to Kansas City to the CBDNA from Prague, having conducted the Prague premiere of Music for Prague, which he actually wrote in 1968 and was premiered in '69. So it was quite an amazing human experience to have the composers all there, and even though Prague was not a premiere, it had a special magic all its own.
So how many years were you the director of bands here at Stephen F. Austin?
6 years, from '87 to '93.
And then after that?
I went to Michigan State for 13 years and retired in 2006.
So what are you doing these days to keep yourself busy?
We live in Flower Mound, Texas, where both our children live, and 3 grandchildren. We live within a mile of all of them. And I'm still doing a fair amount of guest conducting, teaching, conducting, that sort of thing. My oldest granddaughter is in 9th grade in the Flower Mound High School band. Wow. Flute player. And
oh yeah, that's that amazing high school.
Well, there's a lot of amazing ones.
They're in that town.
Yes. Well, they're in the town of Flower Mound, or the village of Flower Mound. There's Flower Mound High School and Marcus, and I'm in those rehearsals regularly. Wow. A lot, and then there are 3 other high schools in the Louisville ISD, which is the larger district. Louisville High School, the Colony, and Hebron, I guess, is the newest school. But yeah, we feel very fortunate. People think we moved there because of the bands, but it was really because of the children.
Okay. And going back to 1991, what's the story you remember about, about Desi in the rehearsals or anything when we put the piece together?
It's a great story, and I love telling it. When we met at, well, we had met before, but when we hatched the commission at Tanglewood, I asked you if this piece for symphonic winds, orchestral winds, could be something to do with the 200th anniversary of Mozart's death, which was in '91. And you said spontaneously, "Oh yes, and I'll use the initials WAM, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart." And you said, "No, I'm going to add an H and make it Wham."
Right.
The title is Wham, and it's going to be 5.5, 6 minutes orchestral winds, and I'll have it to you by Thanksgiving. Now, this was in August. Right. And the weekend of Thanksgiving, I remember getting a call from you saying, this piece is not happening. I'm not going to be able to give you a piece. And I said, what's wrong? And you said, as I remember it, it's the Mozart thing. I'm intimidated by Mozart. I write rock and roll and jazz, and I just don't know that I can do a Mozart piece. And I said, well, is there anything else? Because I want the world premiere of Michael Daugherty's first wind piece. And you said, well, there is this James Bond in a South American nightclub. And we talked about that for a few minutes, and I said, well, all I need today is a title. If it's not Wham, then what's the title? And I heard you talk to your wife, and you came back and said, it'll be 007, the numerals 007.
Okay.
In fact, I brought the parts in a note you sent about 007.
Oh my God. So here's the original score.
Yes.
From 1991, and we can see that I actually said, I wrote here, John, I'm still tinkering with the first four measures, and I had 007, and there's the opening of the trumpets playing. But there's no Desi motive, because I hadn't even thought of that yet. Okay, very good.
Well, then you came to Nacogdoches, and you brought the coda with you.
Right.
And so at every rehearsal, I didn't realize that this was sort of the creative process for you. Maybe at the time, maybe it still is, but you were changing things constantly, and the players were just loving it because you were saying, what would it sound like horns if we did that with the brass mute? What if we took this motif from D and moved it to A? What, you know, and I don't know how they read from those parts, but anyway.
Well, this is way before the days of computer notation.
Oh, absolutely.
Everything was still by hand.
Yeah, well, you could see all of this is by hand.
It's all hand, yeah.
And so we did the at-home concert here at Stephen F. Austin on a Sunday afternoon, and went to dinner at a Mexican place. At that time, it was called El Polino. It's something else now. And we had dinner. Frank DeKelly was there. My cousin David was there. And the faculty pianist, Jan McDaniel, was seated right next to you. And at one point, Jan looked at you and he said, Michael, I'm going to tell you what I think about this piece. And the whole room got very quiet because Jan was somewhat unpredictable. And he said, it's like Desi Arnaz ate way too much pizza. And the whole room frowned and thought, what? How stupid is that? What does that mean? And then you got this look on your face. I didn't know if you were going to strangle him or whatever. And you said, I love Desi Arnaz. Desi Arnaz is an icon I have always loved. I know every episode of I Love Lucy. And Jan said, my wife and I own the complete I Love Lucy video library. And you said, you do? Do you have the one where Desi goes to the club and does, yeah, that's number 96. and so for the rest of the meal, it was only you and Jan talking about Desi.
Right.
Then they took you home with them. You spent the night watching I Love Lucy videos. No sleep.
Right.
The next afternoon, Monday, you called me from Oberlin and said, I haven't slept. I went home with the McDaniels and we watched all these Lucy, Ricky episodes, and you're not going to like what I'm going to ask you to do now, but I need you to change the title of what was Wham, and we just performed as 007, to Desi. All the changes that we made in rehearsals, I didn't realize that is the piece I'd always wanted to write for Desi. And I said, well, I'm sure that the CBDNA official program is already printed. And indeed it was. But I can change it on our handout program that we're going to take with us later this week to the CBDNA.
Yeah.
So.
And I think we forget that there has to be a certain risk element when you're composing or doing a piece. And that's what it was at the time. We had, in a sense, we had no idea what we were doing in some ways. But we're just kind of going with the flow. And by doing that, and by your flexibility, by the way, I think we came up with a great piece. So it's a big honor to be here back in Stephen F. Austin on the 20th anniversary of the performance of Desi. And thanks again for asking me to write the piece.
Thank you.